We're not going to get that all the time.
No.
And sometimes, you go through rough patches in life and you're like, how am I going to get out of this? But you took the step to get out of it that many people don't. Like, just like people talk about bad relationships, right? I'm in a bad relationship and it's just a repeat of bad. Every day you're dealing with the same bad behaviors over and you're endorsing it. But then somebody steps out and they're like, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
All right, this is Real Talk with Carmen Costa. Today I have a special guest, Dee Sgro. I thought I would bring you on. So many changes this year, right? We're in the month of December. Well, we're getting into the month of December. But I thought I would bring you in to see how your year's gone, some of the changes that have happened. You've had a lot of stuff going on. So I guess one of the main questions I wanted to ask you, because it's so key and important to reevaluate your life, right? Reevaluate your life, make sure, everything's going accordingly to plan, or at least what you think is your life purpose, right? Last year, you thought you were going one direction. This year, you're going in a different direction. So I thought I would bring you on because so much, watching you evolve and grow, it's so amazing to watch. It's a blessing. From the one meeting we had when I was like, Dee, you got to go on your own. You can do this. To Friday, which I thought was funny. Everybody was like, with Ryan Russell, I don't know if he told you, everybody's like, are you Dee? I'm like, I'm not Dee. So, it's kind of funny. Yeah, so I don't know if he told you that. I'm like, no, because you were at the bowling. So they were confusing me. KW was confusing me. I'm like, nope, I'm Carmen. So,
oh my God,
yeah, it was hilarious. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Dee. Just a couple of things, with your business, some of the changes that have happened. People say, they stay in, an environment that doesn't make them happy. But you actually took the step to change that, right? And change your direction in life, right? And that's goosebumps for me because, I say it to you guys all the time. I'm like, make the change. It goes on the chat, make the change if you're not happy. And then, you actually took the step, as hard as it was, you did it, but, it turned into such a difference in your life, like to everything going on in your life right now. So I'm going to pass it over. Just let me know your thoughts on that.
So obviously this year is totally different than last year. And, it didn't start off the way I would have anticipated it to be, only because, rates went up and, appraisal's not coming in. And, you've always taught us, like, if things don't work out the way they're supposed to be, you have to do other things to change
100%,
it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was more of an ego at the beginning of the year, saying why I was at this number this year, why am I only at this number? And it's very easy to let your ego go in place and be discouraged, and then 100%. You go backwards, right? So that's something that I didn't want to happen. I wanted to take a look at, it's okay. It's okay not to be exactly where you want to be, and then just focus on what else can I do to not worry about that side of the business, right? And, for me, trying to connect with new people while it was slower than typical, right, was key for me.
For sure.
Reading more books, keeping my mind going, right? Hiring a fitness coach to teach me like discipline, right? That even when things are tough and thrown at you, you can still, if you're consistent at what you do, you will thrive.
100%.
Right? And that for me was a game changer. You got to get out of your comfort zone and do things that really scare you, right?
100%.
Which
yeah.
Something for me, even, and I just told Ryan this morning actually, because he had asked me what I was doing, and I said, well, I'm going to do a podcast with Carmen. I go, but she's smart. I go, she knows how I am. She knows that if she told me 2-3 weeks ago,
100%.
or we're doing a podcast, my initial response would be like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? And she knows I
Exactly.
get nervous. But you know what? When she shoot me that text yesterday saying, come and do a podcast, I was like, okay.
I was surprised with your response, though. I was surprised.
Yeah, like I wasn't nervous at all. And normally for me, as soon as this damn camera goes on, I'm like, but I'm okay, and it's funny because I said to Sandra, that's on our team the day I texted her, I said, I'm just happy. And she's like, okay. I go, just no reason at all. I go, I'm just happy. And we're so easy to complain about things.
100%, yes.
And tell people, all the negative things that go on. But it's very rare for someone to come out and just say, I'm happy, because I am, right? Obviously, the second part of the year, business is coming. And that's one thing I've learned. When you worry about certain things in your life, it's so true that it gives you more reasons to worry about that area.
100%, yeah.
And I didn't worry about my business this year. I just went with the flow, and things just pan out.
100%.
And I'm a true believer of that. Like I said, Ryan has been a blessing.
Shout out to Ryan Russell.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Russell.
Yeah.
He has been seriously a game changer for me. He brought back the
He's
joy.
just very positive. I don't know if he's positive. And you know what I love about him? He's very team player.
100%.
Do you notice that?
Yes, because he does the same thing you do. He sends me videos on Instagram. and it reminds me of you, because sometimes you're in that moment and you're just, maybe something happened, and then it's like weird. It's like all of a sudden I get this video and I click on it.
And it's exactly what you're going
It's
through.
exactly what
I
I'm
know.
It's so weird. And I'm like, how did he know? Like, how did Carmen know that this is what I needed right at this moment? And, he brought back the joy of working with good people.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there was a time in my life where, this brokerage is amazing. You're amazing. I would never go to any other brokerage because I have no reason to be. I'm so happy here. But, there are certain people that, and this is everywhere. Maybe you just don't jive with someone. They're no longer here, but it gets you to think like, oh my God, where are all these good people? And there's so many good people on our team. And
There's so many good people. And I feel like the team is exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I realize every individual that is placed now into this team are agents with integrity, honesty, and I always say the people that come, that may go, sometimes they go because it's just not their frequency, right? And I believe like Gord, when Gord came down, shout out to Gord Healy out in Newfoundland, when he came down for the awards night, we sat here in the office, all day Saturday, just going through compliance and that. And he's like, you guys are just genuinely, like you and Zareen are genuinely good-hearted people. He's like, you guys are good people. He's like, you just care about, regardless if, how you're treated, if people exit, how they exit. And Chantel said something the other day. She's like, brokers will, like agents and brokers will leave. Some will leave with their middle fingers up, but you always just give them everything they need to leave. Yeah. Right? You don't make it hard for them to leave. And I'm like, you know what? Perspective is everything, perspective on the situation. So to me, I'm like that. I think everything is good, but in somebody's world, they create their world. I don't know about if anybody understands this. And sometimes like we could be in the same room, me and you. And if you just resonate with negativity, your perception of that room is going to be so different than mine. Yeah. I try to see the good in everybody. I try to see, how can I, love this person, even if they're annoying. Like sometimes, and I'll reevaluate. At the moment, I'll get super annoyed, but then I reevaluate. I catch myself quickly, and I'm like, okay, I'm meant to love this person and care for them, and I do. But sometimes, and I always say this when I separate with people or people leave, I don't talk to them because I know what you're doing. Like you're bad mouthing, you're doing it. So I can read you. So it's kind of hard for me to be like all fake in front of you and be like, okay, we're friends, have an awesome time at the other brokerage. When the normal common trait of an agent or a broker leaving in other places, they got to say something bad about it, right? Because you got to justify your action as to why you're leaving. You may be just leaving because this frequency is just not for you today at this time. Yeah. It may be for you a year down the road, but at that time, I need to reevaluate, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes I always say the agents that are meant to be here, and I always say to people, the agents that are here, they're good-hearted people. They have integrity. They have honesty. And I can't even because I get the calls where they're like, oh, I'm really worried about this client. That's what I want, right? And I want that where they have empathy, and I want that to be scaled out where even if we grow huge, every single agent is like that. And I know you're right. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get that all the time.
No.
And sometimes, you go through rough patches in life and you're like, how am I going to get out of this? But you took the step to get out of it that many people don't. Just like in people talk about bad relationships, right? I'm in a bad relationship and it's just a repeat of bad. Every day you're dealing with the same bad behaviors over and you're endorsing it. But then somebody steps out and they're like, I'm not going to take this anymore. And some people are like, oh, I can't believe that marriage failed. And I'm always like, that person took a step for their well-being. Yeah. Do you know how hard that is to take that step and leave? Right. And, I always say, because a couple of people I've left this place and they're like, you're not who you say you are. You're not the right. And I'm like, in your perspective. Right. In your perspective, because in your world, you created some monster creation that I have no idea that's distorted because you are in a different level of frequency. Yeah. So you have all rights to feel that way, but I'm not there. Right. So I literally never Servain said something to me the other day, and I think you would know this about me because you've seen people come and go. I literally move on. Yeah. I never discuss the person ever again.
Don't. Actually, you don't.
I really, honestly, when people are like, you talk about me, I'm like, literally, you have no idea that I don't think about you. I when people say that, oh, I heard you talked about me, I'm like, yeah, you wish. I honestly don't. When you're gone out of my perception. You're out. You're gone. And Servain's like, it is so, because he's my closest person next to me. And he'll say something and I'm like, I don't want to hear. I don't care about that person. They're not even in my realms right now. Right. I'd rather think about agents that are here. How can I improve and help them? Yeah. That's the mentality I'm on. Yeah. I've never been where I'm like, oh yeah, that person bothers me. You're never going to get that from me. No. And it's bizarre because people actually think in their head, and you know this, Dee, in their head, they're like, oh, she's talking about me. You're not that privileged. I hate saying that, but please don't put that in my mouth is not even, when I'm gone, right? We separate. And Servain's like, that's a gift to have. The way you are, you move on, that's it. You never talk about it. I'm like, no, because it's lessons that I've learned and experiences that I've experienced and I've learned from it and I've moved on. I don't resonate and go back to it. I don't put myself back in that place. I learn from it. I actually do, maybe the next couple of days, I'll look at it and be like, okay, what did I learn from this? What could I have done better? How do I evolve from this? That's what I do. Yeah. And then I'm gone. When I take those lessons, I'm like, okay, move on.
And it's not easy to do that because I
know how you are.
I dwell because my mind gets going because I think back and I don't like that. But I found that now, just from, your messages you send out daily, I'm like, it doesn't do any justice for anybody but yourself, right?
100%.
Just like your forgiveness, you had posted the other day, and it's like you don't forgive.
There was forgiveness because a lot of people were struggling with some stuff in the team. But the weirdest thing that happened, Dee, with that forgiveness post, 7 people reached out to me. And I'm like, maybe there's a lot of people on this team that need to forgive. I'm like, do you know what I mean? But that was a hit post. Yeah, I didn't even know.
Because I do. I read them, even though sometimes I might not reply or I do read it every day, right? Because there's times where I'm like, shit, she's right. Because we all go through that. And the hardest thing to do is forgive someone when you 100%. Have so much, not hatred, but because I don't like to say hatred, but especially when someone has done some not nice things to you, it's very hard to hear that person's name and not get filled with negative emotions, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like when I'm turned off on somebody, like I will let things go and I let things go. But when I get to the point where it's past, that's it, I'm literally done with you. Like
100%.
it's like a
See,
light
that happens
switch.
quickly with me though. That's like
See,
literally
where
within
it
a day.
takes time, right?
Yeah,
but now when I get there, that's it. You're gone. You're like
No, but I do the forgiveness card, right? Where I do the forgiveness card. So what I don't want is where I'm like, oh, I can't stand that person if I hear their name.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
And
so
I don't like
do
that either.
Yeah, I don't do that at all. I'll do I've shut down conversations where people have tried to get my opinion. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I do it more for me, for my health versus somebody else. Because if you don't forgive somebody, you're the one holding it in. And I'm going to be honest. There's some people out there that may not forgive me, right? And it's a different perspective that they may have. And the truth is, I don't even care. I'm like, okay, that's your problem that you can't forgive me, but I forgived you, right? Yeah. And I think that, the only thing that I would mention on that forgiveness is do it for your well-being. Yeah. It's important and key for your mental health. I always say, with that post, I was shocked because there's a lot of people, I think it's just what's happened in their life, right? As you get older, I'll be honest with you, as I've gotten older, I didn't think I was that old until I met the Fawn Hill team.
I thought you were going to say until I met you.
No, until I met the Fawn Hill team. Like, then I felt really old around them. They're all in their 30s. And I try to relate with them, and they're like, no, I'm 30. Slow down. You're in your 40s. So I'm like, all right. Well, but like I was saying, like, when you get past 40, I don't know about any of you guys, but I pretty much do this. I have no patience. So I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, and like legit, Serene says, you just have a gift. Like you just turn things off. And, and some people will say to me, oh, you said this about me. And I'm like, I didn't even talk about you. Like, I don't even have the time. Like I literally, my days, my days are so filled with, being busy that I wish I had time to just sit down and just, talk, like, or just, talk. I wish I talked about you. So I had that time to talk about you, but I don't. That's why, like, when you're in your 40s, if you look back in 30s, you worried about what people thought about you. 20s, you worried about having so many friends, right? Because I look at my kids, like, I look at Alana, she's like, oh, my friends. And I'm like, she has zero clue that when she gets older, half those friends are gone. They're gone, right? So, and then as you evolve and get older, you're like, this group doesn't resonate with me. I'm going to move on. And then you start to think, you start to read. A lot of the books I'm reading right now is you are who you hang out with. Yeah. So then I'm like, oh my God, I got to watch who I hang out with, because it's exactly that what you said. It's the negative impact that people say if they're in a situation. And even though these people are talking negative and they're like, I can't stand them, I can't stand this, you're a part of that. Yeah. Right? Where I try to change it up and I'm like, you know what? Let's think positive. What are the best qualities of that person, right? Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to find the best qualities, but we're doing it, just to try a best practice for us. Yeah. And that's why for me, I always say, like, watching you evolve and grow from the time that we sat in the boardroom, I'm like, man, you've done so much, right? And as I see you, with your posts and, the fitness and all that stuff, I'm like, she's getting it. Like, and it's like everything I've taught, everything that I've said is now clicking. Right? And you're applying it. So you could say, oh yeah, I understand what you're saying. Oh yeah, I understand. But when you take, like, for instance, somebody asked me the other day, oh, remember the water fast you did? And I'm like, that's discipline, right? Yeah. Like, fitness is discipline. Yeah. Water fast is discipline. Like, you really have to mentally train for that. Yeah. And even now in the gym, when I'm training, my Metcons, my, every minute on the minute, my like all that stuff, I'm telling you, like, today, I struggled so hard, and I swear the universe was listening to me. And I was like, I can't do this. I did my 30 cal full out on the assault bike. And then I'm like, oh, I got to do 3 rounds of this. And a woman came up to me, and she's like, you got this, girl. And I was like, where did this woman come from? This girl's been watching me. She's like, you're so strong. You got this. And I'm like, she's right. I do got this, right? And then I blew through it. I'm not going to lie. It took me about 10 minutes to get over it. My heart rate was way too high. I thought I was sick, but then you feel good about that. Yeah. You're like, I did it. I achieved it, and I achieved it in less than 10 minutes. Yeah. Right? And then I looked at Serena, I'm like, so weird. That woman never talks to me. And I swear at the time she knew I needed somebody to say, because I got off the
Right.
bike and I swear I was like, if I just cheat, nobody will know. But I never cheat. Serene's like, you never cheat. Like, stop. But it was like, it was hard. Today was one of those days that was hard, and she was there to reinforce it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the universe should be about. Like, if you see somebody struggling, let them know. Like, pass it on. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person. But when you say things, it's that whole thing, right? It's what you're saying exactly. You know, sometimes that one moment you need that post that Ryan sends you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's key and important for that. I did want to throw something before we sign off. I'm getting the timer. But before we sign off, we're going to speak about 5 minutes on the market. So I want to do a market update, what's going on. Ryan's funny because Ryan will ask my opinion all the time. He's like, where do you think the bank's going to announce? And I'm like, you know, I honestly, we're never going to predict. I did predict because you have video, and I really think you should bring out those old videos of me saying rates are going up and nobody believed it.
You've said it for so long.
So long. Nobody believed it, and it's annoying. So we have old videos on that we should look at the property show. But I had predicted that, you know, and it's not even predicted. It's honestly repeated history.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's always like, I think rates are going to drop because the economists are saying rates are going to drop in the first quarter. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's going to take time before the rates come down. When they come down, they'll come down significantly. But, you know, just a tip from you to buyers, sellers, to anybody that's drowning in debt, you know, what would you say? Because, you know, I got some stats the other day, and it's just somebody I know who works in the RBC call center. 60% of the calls are people cannot afford their mortgage payments.
Yeah.
Right? Which I did predict in the past. So my thing is what would you suggest? And, you know, I want to throw in something after, but what would you suggest to these people, Dee? Like, what would be some of your tips?
So actually, I have quite a few clients right now that, you know, they're coming out of their 5-year term and the rate's so low, and they're literally in sticker shock when it comes to seeing a rate, say their rate.
Do you
was
remember I said this though?
like 2.1.
And what were people saying? You're so wrong.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
1.9.
It's going to go up to 6%. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are we renewing at right
Yeah,
now?
it's like literally my last client, she's like, oh my God, 'cause she just got out of 1.94.
Yeah.
And her renewal rate with her bank was like 6.2.
Was I wrong though?
You know,
Was I wrong?
and then the ones that their mortgage payments, they were high last year because they had to renew. They've
Higher.
now incorporated all this debt because, like you said, they can't keep up with the mortgage payments, right? So the biggest thing I hear now, they're like, oh my God, the rate's so high. But if you have enough equity in your home, right now you can't worry about the rate, right? It's what's going to make your life easier cash flow wise, right?
100%.
Would you lock into a 5-year term? No, right? You know, a shorter term, yeah, the shorter terms are higher in rates. But if you look at the whole picture and you have like 100,000 in debts of unsecured credit cards, you know, lines of credits, and just those interest-only payments are killing you on top of your mortgage payment, you know, you can't worry about rate.
100%.
Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, you have to look at it, okay, if we incorporate all this is your payment, and now you are saving, you know, $1,000 a month. That for me is huge, right?
100%.
I don't know. I feel like people just adapt. It's like you buy a car because your car broke. You need to have that car. You find a way to make that payment every month. So I think it's more or less is you have to change the way you live.
Yeah.
Maybe cut back on going out for dinner every week. You know,
Dinner's so expensive.
It is.
Honestly, for
especially,
6 people. Like, I'll be honest, like my advice to everybody right now is just get a review.
Yeah.
Like, if you're struggling and you think that you can't make these payments, and, you know, right when you start having that feeling, get a review, and get a review with a trusted agent and broker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who told me the other day, they're like, oh man, see all this mass Google reviews? You can pay for those Google reviews. So honestly, look at the small mom and pop shops. You know, that's what I look at. when I see like over 3,000 reviews, and then I'm like, how long have they been in business?
Yeah.
And 3,000 clients have given them that many reviews. Like, that's a little ridiculous, because there was a time you could buy Google reviews, right? So be realistic with that. Always do interviews, sit down, but I would highly recommend that you get a review, and that's key and important, because the other day I had a client where they came up for renewal. They had all this outside debt. And she was like, I need to sell my house. When I looked at everything, the husband got a raise. She got another job. I was like, you can do this for a couple of years till the rates start coming down, right?
Yeah.
You can do this. If you want to keep the home, we can consolidate. We can do this. We can do that. And she's like, I didn't know I had those options.
Right.
I was just going to sell thinking that, and the truth is, maybe selling is the best option. But for now, I would highly recommend anybody drowning in debt. Your payments are too high. You seem like you're falling short in a surplus every month. Reach out to a trusted advisor, mortgage agent, level. It's like crazy, but a mortgage broker agent, reach out to them, talk to them. I'm biased here, but I think our TCG agents, every single one of them is honest. We give the best advice out there. I would say reach out to one of us. It's key and important, but don't let yourself lose sleep over it. And then, find out, is this my last resort, is selling this home?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, before we sign off, Dee, any word of advice?
My biggest thing is just, I know it's easy to say, don't worry about things, right? Things always fall into place when you just stop worrying.
100%.
Right? And if you need to take steps like meditating, reading a book, being around, people that are like-minded, do that, right? Because like watching just stuff on the news, it can easily get into you.
I haven't watched the news
So
in
I don't
years.
watch it, but like I said, my biggest thing is just live day by day, right? And
Live in the moment. I
Yeah.
like that idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, you know what? Off of that, I would 100% recommend a book I picked up, Becoming Supernatural, if we can put it up. Becoming Supernatural is a book that has honestly changed a lot of what I believe. So I think, I don't want to butcher his name. It's Dr. Dispensia is his name, but he's a great author. Talks about how you have the tools to heal yourself, that you don't need current medical, and your diseases are, Diseases are the, it comes from, stresses, worries, everyday stresses that you've had, that you worry about. And it talks about that. There's another book that I, Heal Your Body with Dr. Louise Hay. She talks about different diseases that you have associate with different emotions. Yeah, so 2 books that I would recommend to pick up. I've learned a lot about my body regarding that, so I would pick them up. For everybody else out there, I want to thank you for always listening in. I always get the, when is your video coming out? I love that. So watch for it to drop on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when a video drops. To my team, I want to thank you. We had our awards night. Awesome. I love every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for always trusting in my vision. It means a lot. And to everybody else, thank you so much. Still not recording here. All the 20 cameras are coming on because he took forever to forget.
Wow.
You know what, Jamie? I can't hear myself. You can? At all. Like, not. Can you hear me?
Well, because she's like loud.
She's loud.
In a nice way.
Test.
Testing. Can you hear me now?
Oh, Jesus. Whoa. Oh, yeah. Wow. Here we go.
That's so funny.